Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. So I'm going to continue on reviewing one of the movies from my list, and today I'm reviewing the animated film The Little Prince. This is based upon the classic story of the same name. This version of the film was directed by Mark Osborne and voice acted by Jeff Bridges, Rachel McAdams, Mackenzie Foy, James Franco and Ricky Gervais. And this film really looks at a little girl who is in an adult sort of world. She lives a very structured life. Her mother expects her to be grown up and put aside childish things and become an adult and to grow, and she's trying to help her through that. She ultimately wants her to get into a particular school that she tries and doesn't quite get in, so her mother devises a plan for her daughter to spend a year studying and learning and growing a bit more before trying to get into the particular school once again. Her life is very structured. Her mother designs this sort of routine where she's tells her when to eat and when to study and when to take a break, and her whole day is mapped out. All this is sort of shaken up once she meets her elderly next door neighbour known as the Aviator, a particular elderly man who was once a pilot, who's kind of eccentric but lives by himself and is sort of counting down the days to the end of his life. They ultimately become friends. He begins to tell her a story about the Little Prince, a particular unique person that he met in the desert during one of his flights when he crashed, which is the ultimate story of the Little Prince. And the more he tells her about this particular person, the more that she starts to slowly get in touch with that kid inside of her, that she's sort of slowly losing and has lost in order for her to become an adult in an adult world. Ultimately, the friendship of these two people, they teach each other something. They ultimately show each other the importance of certain things. He shows her what it is, to be a kid when you're a kid. And as you get older, don't lose the sense of being a kid and having fun and that kid side of us as we get older. And for him, she offers this opportunity for him to have one last journey, one last hurrah, and to spend a bit of time with someone in particular before the end of his life. As the days and weeks go on, and the more that she learns about the story, she grows and evolves and becomes a really interesting sort of young woman who's trying to hang on to the childlike essence of herself, but also maneuver within an adult world. They ultimately leave a longing impression on each other, and it is interesting to see how they interact with each other and the world around them. And this all leads to a kind of a heartwarming and sort of beautiful evolution of characters and the situations they find themselves. I'm a big fan of this film. We didn't get it particularly in Australia. It's a French film. Well, there's two versions. There's the French version that you can only get in Paris. When I was in Paris a few months ago, I saw quite a number of versions of it, but because it was a different region, I was unable to get it to play it. I have a particular copy of it that a friend gave to me, a digital copy, and that's how I was able to see this film. There is also an English language version of the film, which is the one that Mark Osborne directed, and it has Jeff Bridges and Rachel McAdams and Mackenzie Foy voicing these particular characters. This is a story that's always really stuck with me. I've got two versions of the book. I've got the original version and the French version of The Little Prince, and it's just such a wonderful little book that has a lot in it, but it talks about love, and there's so much that the author himself put into the book of experiences that he was having. And it's a pretty profound story in its simplicity of what it's trying to execute and tell the reader. And I really love that. I love the little drawings it's got in. I think it's such a wonderful book. And I think the Little Prince is such a great character. I like that what they did with this version is they had the old man, like within the book, this man is telling the story of the little prince he met after crashing in the desert. And this film sort of does the same thing. It has him telling the story, but to a little girl. And also we get to see the little prince as he's explaining the story. We get to see him physically. This film uses animation and stop motion. It's really fantastic the way that blends both of them together. And I really enjoyed the animation aspect to it. I think Jeff Bridges does a great job as the Aviator. He's sort of a dude-esque sort of character, and he's really great in it. I think Mackenzie Foy does a really great job as a little girl, and Rachel McAdams is really solid as the mother in this particular story. There's such a beauty to this film as well. Simple animation, a well-told story, interesting characters, and there's a beauty and power to this film. This profoundness, much like the book. I think the film really captures that, the essence of what's in the book and the profoundness of the story. There's even a really great sequence where the little girl envisions herself going to find the little prince in this adult world. And the little prince isn't a child anymore, he's a grown adult. But he doesn't remember who he is. And she tries and help him remember. And it's kind of an interesting sequence of events that transpire here. And it's really, each sequence is trying to encapsulate what the story was trying to say and what was involved in the storyline and of this particular book and film. And I think it's brilliantly done. It's a film I can go back to time and time again, and I really thoroughly enjoyed myself with the experiences that I had with this film and what it was trying to say to me as a viewer. I was really impressed with what I did see with this film. Final verdict. If you like a good solid animated story, it's a simple story but effective, you really thoroughly enjoy this. I don't think it's a film just for kids. I think this film has a lot for adults as well, much like the book. There's a lot in it and a lot happening that children and parents can get out of it. I think it's a very well-made family animated film that I think should be watched on a wider audience, which is unfortunate we didn't get it as a physical release here in Australia. Which makes it difficult for anyone to really watch it. But if you do get the opportunity to see it or get your hands on a copy of it, definitely watch it. It's definitely worth your time. It's one of the best animated films I think I've ever seen, and it's definitely on my top 10 films of all time. I was really impressed with what I did see with this film. I'm going to give The Little Prince 4.5 out of 5. I thoroughly enjoyed myself here. I think it was a great and simple story, well told, well executed. And it's a film that I can return to, and I think it's a film that everyone should see. Anyway, my next video I'll be reviewing is Captain Marvel, which is coming out this week. I think I'm getting a bit over superhero movies, but we'll see what this film has in store for us. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe down the bottom. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.